Hey everybody, this is Chris K, and you're listening to the Productive Parks 5-Minute Podcast, the show for busy people working to change the game in the parks and recreation field. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about installation options for pickleball courts. Pickleball courts are in high demand. After all, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in many areas throughout the country. Is your agency getting more feedback from the public to add more pickleball courts? In the first part of this series, we discussed what to consider when planning pickleball courts. Now let's explore the most common pickleball court installation options and some pros and cons for each. High demand shouldn't keep your agency from making sound decisions about the best placement and option for installing a pickleball court. Each type of pickleball installation comes with its set of pros and cons, which we will explore. Before considering any option, you may want to gather a team to research and answer the following questions. What is the demand for pickleball in my area? Will the site be exclusively pickleball or can it be used for other sports? Can we expect conflict if pickleball courts get added to other playing surfaces? What kind of budget or funding is available? What space is available? Will my asset be able to handle the extra visitors, parking spots, restrooms, etc.? What other amenities are necessary at a new pickleball site? Storage, bleachers, concessions, etc. With this knowledge in mind, you can start exploring your options. Creating brand new courts. If you have available space, high demand, and financial resources, you may want to consider pouring concrete for a brand new pickleball court. Your agency will likely have several hoops to jump through, like ensuring proper grading, drainage, excavation, clearances, and permits. You'll also work with landscape architects, concrete or sports court surfacing contractors, urban planners, or more to plan and implement the new courts. While it's a considerable undertaking, the pickleball enthusiasts in your area will probably look like kids on Christmas morning at the ribbon cutting. Pros: more visitors to your site, not dealing with existing issues of converting an older court, ability to create the courts with the best interest of the public, land, and the environment in mind. Plus, you'll probably have some bragging rights for constructing brand new pickleball courts. Cons: the most expensive option by far. It may be challenging to implement if space is limited. And if the pickleball trend quickly fades, the money may have been better spent elsewhere. Bottom line, we all like shiny new things, but they often come with a price. Converting tennis courts into pickleball courts. If the entire tennis court area, including runoffs, is regulation size, 60 by 120 feet with square corners, you'll have enough room to fit up to 4 pickleball courts. Of course, making that happen requires some work. If you want to convert tennis courts to pickleball courts, here are some things to consider. Removing tennis posts and anchors. Capping the post holes. Installing pickleball net post sleeves in footers. Installing pipe anchors in a small concrete footer at the center of each net. Resurfacing the playing area. And restriping for pickleball courts. Pros: the court base already exists and saves time and money on installation. Allows pickleball purists to play with regulation height nets. New opportunities for existing spaces. Cons: it may upset tennis players if there aren't any other nearby tennis courts. Tennis courts' pre-existing issues like heaving, cracking, and deterioration need to be addressed. Bottom line, if you have tennis ball courts resembling ghost towns, converting them to pickleball courts may bring new life into them. Adding pickleball lines to tennis courts. If your community is unwilling to part with the tennis courts, you may consider adding existing lines to the tennis courts. Determine usage for tennis courts and pickleball courts. Some tennis courts can remain exclusively for tennis. Others can have pickleball court lines added. Layouts can include lines for up to 1 to 4 pickleball courts in each regulation-sized tennis court. While making as many pickleball courts as possible may seem like a good idea, use caution when planning. The 4-court layout causes significant overruns on either side of the tennis court, which could lead to hazardous conditions. Also, fewer pickleball courts within a tennis court can make it easier to differentiate among courts. Once you have a layout set up, determine if you want lines added short-term or long-term. Choose a color that stands out from the tennis court lines to avoid confusion. Painting stripes is an affordable and more long-term option. There are also a variety of stencils and court tape. Avoid using cheap court tape, as the heat and sunlight can cause it to melt to the court surface, making it nearly impossible to remove. Your maintenance tech will thank you. Pros: most affordable installation option, especially if the tennis court surfaces are in good condition. May not require extra work from contractors, especially if you have a crew member that's skilled at line tape. Cons: additional lines on the tennis courts make it ineligible for sanctioned tennis play. Pickleball purists may be upset because the net height is slightly higher than regulation. May cause conflicts if the area gets used frequently for both sports. The bottom line: most pickleball and tennis players can enjoy the courts with this cost-effective pickleball installation option. You just need to make sure they're playing together nicely. Using portable sets with temporary marking tape. If pickleball isn't that big in your area, but you do want to offer some programming, setting up temporary courts may be your best option. Since you can play pickleball on just about any flat, hard surface, setting up a temporary net is easy. Marking areas with tapes or cones makes for easy cleanup once the program is complete. Pros: affordable, low risk on investment, doesn't require any permanent changes to facilities. Great option to explore your community's interest in pickleball and determine if a more permanent solution is worth the investment. Cons: needs staff to set up or take down. Not as durable as more permanent options. Needs location to store nets. It may only be available to visitors at certain times. The bottom line: the affordable, low-risk way to dip your toes in the water of the tidal wave of pickleball popularity. The takeaway: by asking the essential questions and examining your options, your agency can find the best solution to help the public enjoy this quickly growing sport. That's it for now. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Productive Parks Podcast. Remember to tune in each week for more tips on how to make your agency more productive.